Welcome, everyone, to TechAllies, The Conversation, a podcast where we sit down with today's technology leaders for real discussions about the people behind the roles, the work that matters to them, and the impact they're trying to make today. I'm your host, Billy Mitchell, and on today's episode, we go behind the title of Rafael Pimentel Pinto, CIO at Texas State Board of Pharmacy. At TechAllies, we believe in authentic connection, collaboration, and giving back, and today's guest embodies all of that. Rafael, welcome. Thanks so much for joining. How are you today?
I'm great, Billy. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. After just chatting with Trish for a little bit, I think we've got a real guest on our hands and I'm excited about it. So as a reminder to you, as well as our guests, we break our podcast up into three primary sections. Number one, we want to talk about you, your personal journey, kind of who you are and how you got here. Number two, we want to talk about where you spend most of your time today, some of the things you're working on, kind of from a macro level, what's important to you. And then number three, the impact in the future of the tech industry. This is kind of where we bring in TechAllies as part of the conversation, what TechAllies means to you and your experiences with them along the way. So with that, for those who do not know you and would love to get to know you, could you start just by giving us kind of an overview of who Rafael is?
Well, sure. I moved here to the U.S. a couple of years ago, so I'm starting to get everyone here as much as they're trying to get to know me. So, as you mentioned, at the time, I am the CIO for the Texas State Board of Pharmacy. That's been for the last year and a few months. But before that, I was living in Mexico, and I've been doing this job, the CIO job, for different industries, different companies. I was working for this major radio company. Well, it's a group, and the major company of the group, it's a radio company. I was the CIO there too, doing all the digital transformation stuff for a media company. It's amazing what's happening there. One of the industries that's been more disrupted, and then trying to catch up with the big players like Spotify and all those. It's really challenging. It's fun. And before that, I was on the space industry. That's another very interesting thing. I was the CIO for the Mexican Space Agency. So working with scientists and trying to solve problems related to satellites and all those things instead of, the invoice or the everyday stuff in any other company was like one of the biggest adventures of my life. And also have experience in the insurance industry, working for major broker in Mexico and a manufacturing company. So I think being a CIO, it's what's been defining the last maybe 15 years of my life. And around that, there are lots of things that come with the job, because you're not just the one that's putting computers on the desks anymore. You're helping shape the outcomes of a whole organization or of a whole company. So being part of that really, really gets me, going every day. I get to wake up thinking, what are we going to do today that's going to make a difference? So I really love that. And I know if I spinned off from what you asked, but...
No, it's good. It's really good. It's actually amazing your background going from space agency to all the way to the pharmacy industry, just a wide variety there, and I love it. So it actually kind of lends itself into my next question for you, which is tell us a little bit about how you got here. More in what was some of those early points in your life that really made an impact on you? Maybe some people who made an impact on you that really helped shape and also guide you to the career journey that you've been on.
Well, when I was young, before choosing my career and stuff, I really wanted to work for NASA. So I thought the logical step was to study something like, computer science or electronic engineering or something like that. So I started studying electronic engineering, and then I discovered that was not really what I enjoyed doing, and I thought I'm going to end up, repairing vacuum cleaners or blending machines or something like that. And I, lost sight of what I wanted to do working for NASA. So eventually I switched to computer science. where things were very easy for me. I learned how to program when I was very young by accident because my dad bought this Timex Sinclair computer that the only thing that could do was, uh, Q basic uh, programs, computer programs. So I thought I was playing with the thing when I was typing code, and then I saw circles and different shapes changing color and changing position on the screen. But actually, what I was learning to do was, to use cycles and conditionals in QBasic. So when I ended up in computer science and in those first programming classes, I was like, hey, I know how to do this. I've seen this before. So I started like remembering all those things that were a game for me. And so programming was really very simple for me. And, after I finished college, instead of going to a developer job, that was like the logical step for me, I ended up by chance being on the infrastructure side. And I was working for the Attorney General's office in Mexico, taking care of all the data centers and all the infrastructure and all the software licensing. So that was a very, very, very good school for me, learning about how to deal with large organizations, with large projects, with some national security stuff. So I think after a few years there, my mind was completely off of my dream to work, for NASA or for something like that. And then I discovered I had to be a U.S. citizen to be part of NASA, which I was not. So I just, kept going to the next job and the next job without really thinking much on what was next or what was the big plan. And eventually, after a couple of different positions that I was not enjoying, I received a call from somebody I didn't know, and he asked me, "Hey, are you interested in a new position? We have to fill a CIO position, and we're having problems because we need somebody who knows how the Mexican government works and how national security projects work, and somebody who can deal with large projects in a very, very short time. So are you interested in working a lot and being paid like not that much?" And I was like, well, it's a CIO position. It's like the next logical step in my career, and well, why not, right? If I don't do this at this moment, I don't know if I'm going to have an opportunity like this in the future. So I just took it, and it was 2011. And from that point in time to now, that's what I've been doing, just accepting different challenges, like to reshape how the organizations do what they're doing at the time. And I mean, as I was telling you, I love doing this. I love sitting with people and listening to how they're doing things and how they are struggling with this or that, and finding new ways of doing things and finding the right tools to deal with those things. I mean, I love it. And well, eventually that brought me to the US, after um, having this conversation with my wife, it was like, well, it's time for us to move here to Austin. Her family's here. She wanted to be close to them. And well, thinking Austin is one of the hottest technology hubs right now in the planet, it was like, well, that's the right place for us to be. We can take care of your family and I can find something to do there. And well, I'm surprised. Everything is happening here in Austin.
Yeah, it's incredible. We moved here about 5 years ago, and the explosive growth just in the last 5 years has been pretty unprecedented. So I can understand the draw here, and obviously, I'm glad that you're in our neighborhood as well, back neighborhood here. So obviously, being a CIO in general is a large job and requires managing and overseeing a lot of people, processes, systems, etc. As you're through your time of development and career growth, what are some of the beliefs about leadership that you have had to unlearn and and correct, your frame of mind as you've grown and learned in your roles?
Well, I think one of the main things that I've learned is that being a leader doesn't mean you have to control everything that's under your responsibility. I thought in the beginning that I had to be, part of every decision, and I had to be aware of everything that was happening to that level of detail that will drive you nuts. So after a little bit trying to do that, I figured out this is not the way. I think I just have to be able to let my people work, let them make their own decisions, and I just have to be on top of everything, but in a different level, in a more I am aware of this level, and my real job is to make these other people capable of making the decisions that are the best for the company, that are the best for the situation, and I think that's my main job. Like creating leaders that can take charge of these things, and as a team of leaders, it's going to be easier to work like than having just one person trying to control everything.
Yeah, one of the lessons I learned early on as well is when you have a team underneath you, they were hired for a reason. They have an expertise, they have a knowledge base, they have a skill set that presumably you don't, or at least maybe better than you do. And it's really important to trust and let that go, and be able to ensure that it's part of the greater vision, but really trusting your team and knowing that you don't have to do that. And frankly, they're probably the better ones to do it. Is really a key component to being a good leader.
Exactly. Yes, you just have to be there, to show them the path, and,
Yeah.
and they have to follow. And I think that's the big challenge, being able to communicate them. This is the big picture. This is where we have to go. Of course, be there for them anytime they need it, and help them with any situation that's out of their reach or out of their capacity. But yeah, it's like more being a part of the team than trying to pull the whole team by yourself.
Right. No, I think that's a really good way to put it. So obviously, as we're talking about people and being a leader, for me personally, I think about this next question in terms of those who are currently working with me, and when they go home at night, right? And then I also think about this next question as those who have worked with me for a period of time and they're moving on to something else, something better for themselves, maybe better for both organizations as a whole. But I always hope that they take away something positive from working with me or working with our organization. And certainly, I hope that their time with me has developed them to be better than when they started with me. So, as it relates to you and the individuals you work with, what are some of those things that you hope people experience when working with you, or that they take away if they're moving on to another opportunity?
Well, I am always hoping that they feel free to be who they are, and they feel free to bring their best. Sometimes you feel like you shouldn't try this or you shouldn't propose this because there's going to be a consequence, a negative consequence. And I don't like my people to feel like that. I like them to feel like they're valued and they're there because of all of their capacities. So I like them to feel that freedom, and I think that that also helps the teams being more innovative, being more creative, and being more willing to take risks. If they feel like you have their back no matter what, if they make a bad decision, you're not going to be yelling at them, but you're going to be helping them, correct the course and then learn from that bad experience, whatever needs to be learned. And I think that's the best thing I can do for my teams. Let them be who they are and let them try to do their best, knowing that you're there for them no matter what. If they're doing their best for the organization, for the company, for the team.
Yeah, I think you said something that's really good there is letting them make a mistake, letting them fail at times. And you do that by entrusting them to make those decisions and to take those actions without necessarily needing to consult with you, right? As long as it's part of the vision, part of the purpose, the direction, make that decision. And if it's the wrong course, we'll adjust. And that actually happened to me no more than a couple months ago, and it was a small thing, but it was enough where I was like, we shouldn't have done that. Here's why. It was a learning opportunity, a growing opportunity, and everybody becomes better for it. So I love that. I think that's an incredible perspective.
Yes, no, and that's how I like to work. If I make a mistake, I'm going to be accountable for that. I'm going to take responsibility, and I'm going to try my best to fix it, right? But I like to be with that freedom, like to try things, to experiment new things. Of course, you're not going to be like taking risks like crazy, right? But if you don't have that freedom, you're never going to improve. You're never going to do something different than what you're doing. And if you don't do things differently, you will never have different results. So that means you're never going to have better results, right?
Right. Yeah. That's the quickest way not to grow. um,
Exactly.
so obviously now kind of moving on from the team structure and your history, you've got a lot of incredible experience and knowledge base. Thinking about today, where are you spending most of your time? What are you focused on? And I think I kind of like to ask this question in the sense of more of a macro level. Like, what are some of those things in the industry that you're really focusing on, maybe trying to solve, maybe trying to navigate, something that is really taking up a lot of that mental bandwidth for you?
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our conversation today. We want to take a moment to recognize one of our partners that has made this possible. At TechAllies, everything we do is centered around relationships, connecting the right people, fostering meaningful conversations, and creating opportunities for collaboration and growth. Whether it's helping companies find talent, supporting new initiatives, or building strategic partnerships, strong communication is always at the core. That's why we're excited to partner with Zoom. Zoom is an all-in-one AI-first communications and collaboration platform that empowers people to connect and get work done from anywhere. With reliable video meetings, chat, phone, and contact center capabilities, all integrated into a unified workplace platform, Zoom makes it easy for organizations to streamline communication and enhance productivity. We're grateful for Zoom's partnership with TechAllies and their support of this podcast. Now let's get back to Billy and our incredible guest as they continue their conversation.
Well, nowadays I think there are two very opposite things that are a big trend. One is AI, of course, the most complex and most amazing tool human being has developed ever. And well, I'm trying to learn about it, and I'm trying to learn how not to use it, how to use it, where to use it, and where could it really make a difference, and learn about all its limitations. I enjoy very much listening to what everyone is doing with AI. As you know, I'm working for a state agency, and some other state agencies are doing some remarkable work with AI, and it's published everywhere, and they are happy to share all these experiences and stuff. Obviously, private companies are going crazy with this, and I love it. I love seeing how young people have their companies that are AI powered or fully AI managed, and it's incredible. I think, of course, we have to be very careful on how we use it because we still don't know what's going to happen in the end or in the long run, what's going to happen. And in the other hand, the opposite thing I was telling you that's like an important thing to address, it's technical debt. Because we are advancing so much with AI and this all new technologies and stuff. But some things they're sitting in data centers, in old servers with old technology, and you cannot connect an API to it, or you cannot add multi-factor authentication because they're really, old school developments. I'm also thinking, how can we do this like more 21st century friendly? How can we, without making crazy investments, improve all those things? Maybe we're not getting rid of stuff, but we are making a better use of all the information that we have. So I think these two things have a lot of people busy, and we should be concerned mainly about those two things. And obviously, well, cybersecurity, right? It's always
Sure.
uh, something that we have to be learning, that we have to be implementing, being aware. It's like like having breakfast. You don't leave your house without having breakfast. My mom used to say, you don't
Yeah.
do anything on IT without taking cybersecurity into consideration.
Yeah. It's funny. I like to say that whenever I'm using AI or chat or Claude, I'm always saying please and thank you, so that when they take over the world, they can remember me as one of the nice guys.
Well, I'm trying to make friends with some ATM or something, just in
Yeah.
case the machines take over the control of everything.
Yeah, exactly. They'll remember us as the nice guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the way that we incorporate AI into our organization is primarily through efficiencies right now. We're not working towards replacing people. We're working towards condensing that workflow, right? It's something that may have taken us 2 to 3 hours. We want to see if we can get it done in 30 minutes, right? Just to maximize that efficiency. But I think at the end of the day, no matter what, well, actually, take a step back. The security is obviously the number one thing. I 100% agree with you on that. And I think it's only going to become more important as this develops, as you mentioned. I think another thing that's really important too, that doesn't get as much attention, is the need that we're going to have to still maintain the relationship, the person side of it, the actual human mind behind it, the creativity that we bring to the table. And so being able to kind of partner the human AI, if you will, with the artificial AI, I think is really imperative because, doing things like this, we could easily nowadays actually have our avatars talking to each other and you and I would not even need to do anything. I enjoy this. I want to get to know you. And I think that's really a key function that we need to remember too.
Yes, you know what? I was last week on one of the conferences at South by, and Jack Conte, the speaker, was saying he's a musician and he has a tech company. So he was like, I have these mixed feelings about AI. But he ends the conference saying, AI, yes, they can create music in minutes and they can create songs in minutes. But what AI cannot do is what we humans being have been doing for years. If there was no Elvis Presley, we wouldn't have rock and roll now. If the Beatles were not there, we would not have popular music as we know it. And he was talking about all these people that took a risk and made a huge change in music as we know it right now. And now we have all this electronic music and all these different genres and stuff. And he was saying it's our responsibility as human beings to take that next step that AI is not going to be able to take for us. So I think that applies for everything. In our organizations, AI, yes, it's going to help, and as you say, it's going to make us more efficient, but it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a better decision, so we can be better than our competitor, or it's not going to make a better service for any human being. That's us, that's humans.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Speaking of humans and human interaction, you know, kind of as a segue into Tech Allies and speaking about your experience with Tech Allies, a lot of what Tech Allies has been built around is the idea of opening doors for others. Obviously, a big component to Tech Allies is the community side of things, but it's also supporting the next generation of tech leaders coming through the door. So, for you, when you think about your career, do you have an example or some thoughts around maybe somebody who has opened a door for you through your career that really made an impact? Somebody who you think fondly back on now?
Well, it's funny because I was just talking to my wife about this person a few days ago because it was his birthday on Saturday. So I have this friend who's called Reinaldo Iruegas, and he was the one who referred me for that first CIO position I was telling you about. I got this call out of the blue because my resume got to them through this guy. I knew him from years before. We were working together. He was an account manager, and I was a customer, and we had these huge disagreements all the time, and we had all these problems to solve. But we became like acquainted because we were both trying to get the best of the situation. He had to protect his organization, I had to protect mine. But in the end, we just wanted the best for everyone. So I think he's the one that put me in this crazy path of, being on the CIO position. I know he's retiring soon, or he's just about to retire. So I'm really thankful, and I really appreciate all his support and help. And I think now it's my turn, right, to help other people, and that's one of the things that I am happy to be part of organizations such as TechAllies, you have this opportunity to give back to other people what you've received in the past.
Yeah, 100%. And I share a version of this story every time I'm recording this podcast, but I think it's important. Is the whole idea of this podcast came from my time, my first experience at a TechAllies event where I met Alan, and going to that event, I was actually pretty nervous just because I was going to be in a room full of tech leaders, and here I am, just a small. I still consider myself a kid, even though I'm not, but. And so I was kind of like, why me? Why am I here? But what I quickly realized is that everybody in that room was an incredible person, right? They were an incredible person first, and the conversations were always about me personally. They wanted to know about my family, wanted to know where I'm from, and then it got into work. And I started to realize there's something different here. This is not a normal networking event. This is not a normal come and hear somebody speak type event. There's a communal aspect to it. And then I started to learn more about the behind the scenes stuff of the development and the giving, and the focus on the next generation. So I really fell in love with that. And I realized that, people like yourself who have a really big title at great organizations are just people behind the scenes, right? You're normal like everybody else out there. And so I love giving you guys an opportunity to share who you are, and really kind of personalize you guys. So when it comes to TechAllies, what's your experience? How long have you been involved? What are some of the key things that stick out and resonate for you? And you mentioned it already as far as the next generation, but what are some of the things you're really focused on with TechAllies?
I've been part of TechAllies like maybe for a year or something like that. I've been in the US like just for 2 years. So
cool.
I was looking for these kind of associations or professional associations, these groups where I could meet with people, because while I was making progress in my career, I felt that every time I had more responsibility, I was a little bit more alone, in the decisions that I had to make, or in whatever I had to accomplish. And eventually I figured this is the place where you need to be if you are in a senior position or in a leadership position, because here is where you find all these, as you mentioned, these great leaders, these great people that have already been through what you've been, or who have a different vision than you of things, and they can help you, get better solutions or better ideas. And I think at this point, for me, TechAllies is just where I can feel, part of something, where I can be myself, where I can meet with great people that are going through the same responsibilities, the same stress, the same pressure that I'm going, that we understand each other, and that we're willing to be there for each other. As you mentioned, it's just a group where you are with these huge names. They're just there, having lunch with you or whatever, playing the piano, singing or something that's like in an everyday situation.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun too. Obviously some of the events, going out to Coda last year and racing some cars around the track, that was a lot of fun as well. So,
yes.
In addition to just the networking and the communal side, there's a lot of fun as well. So, when you obviously, because TechAllies does have a focus on the next generation, as I've mentioned, the hope and the goal of this podcast as well is that younger people in their career will be listening and kind of learning from the guests through the interview. So if somebody is listening that's earlier in their career, what's one of those pieces of advice that you wish you would have had been told earlier on that would have maybe helped you out a little bit?
Well, I think one of the most important things is never stop investing in yourself. If you can go to these courses, advanced courses on the technical side, the technology, the new technology, but also on the soft skills side, leadership, all these skills that we're not taught at school.
Yeah.
We need to keep learning all the time. And also another thing is, don't be afraid to reach out to people for help, right? Because you are sometimes so into your problem that you don't reach out and you don't say, hey, can somebody help me? And sometimes help is right out there. Solutions are pretty simple, but you are so focused in just one thing that you cannot see it. So I think that's it. Just keep investing in yourself and reach out for help.
I think that's great. And I love it. The more I do this with TechAllies, the more great advice we get. But the number one thing that I've seen throughout everybody's answer there is the reaching out, asking for help, right? Don't silo yourself. You aren't the only one that can solve a problem. In fact, oftentimes you aren't going to solve it. Get that help. I think it's incredible.
Well, just get your ego out of your way, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's good. Rafael, this has been a really good conversation, and I know others are going to enjoy getting to know you. I always like to end our podcast with a little bit of fun, easy conversation, just kind of settle everything. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. First thing comes to your head, go ahead and give us your first response. It's
Sure.
not difficult. It's not a quiz or anything. But all right, number one, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. A book, podcast, or resource that's influenced your leadership the most?
Coffee. And
That's good.
there's this book that's called Future Shock.
Okay.
It's very old, but everything that says there, it's so relevant to what we're living right now.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. Anytime somebody recommends a book, I have to go buy it. So that's next on my list.
You will enjoy it, yes.
Good. What's one bucket list item you've already checked off?
Living in a different country.
Absolutely. Yep. What is one goal you're still chasing in life?
Oof, that's a tough one. Um, I don't know. I think I would very much enjoy working for a very large international company.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, Rafael, this has been wonderful, and I've enjoyed our conversation. For those who are listening, who would like to get in contact with you, what's one of the best ways to do that?
My LinkedIn, Rafael Pimentel Pinto. Always accepting people. If I take a minute to respond, don't get upset. I have a lot of messages to respond sometimes.
I get it. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again. And for everybody else, this has been a conversation with Rafael, a Tech Allies podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to follow along and continue the conversation in the Tech Allies community. I'm Billy Mitchell, and I'll see you next time.